Most everything out there is closed.
St. Mary and Elizabeth Hospital needs help.
And the mayor and the county judge have both declared a state of emergency.
The interstates are terrible.
That is our heaviest single snowfall ever.
And there is a sense of panic out there.
Welcome to a special edition of Good Morning Kentuckiana. You are looking at live pictures from the Belvedere. Kentuckiana is in the midst of a major snowstorm.
There are some cars trying to come up the 2nd Street Bridge. Folks, don't do that. Foolish, 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 foolish.
The snow extends over the entire region. Travel not advised.
Traffic is not moving, and it has not been moving here as long as we've been here.
My recommendation because of that is to stay away from the street, stay in your homes.
But you know, you scrape underneath here, it's still slippery. It's still very slippery.
You know, we may have had 6 inches of snow back in February, but this is probably the worst I've seen it in this town since 1978.
And that's the advice of the day. If you don't have a four-wheel drive vehicle, just stay at home.
And our plans today, folks, to stay on the air right through the thick of this snowstorm.
We call it the winter storm of '94, but it may turn out to be the snowstorm of the century in the Ohio Valley. It was 16 inches of snow, followed by the coldest night on record, 22 below zero. We were frozen in place. Kentuckiana was paralyzed. But the storm did more than that. It became our common denominator, affecting us all and perhaps bringing us closer together for a while. Over those 7 cold days, we at the News Channel became your eyes and ears for the storm. We managed to get to places that you couldn't see from your snowbound neighborhood. Over the next hour, we'll take you back to that snowy week with the sounds and the images that gave this week its place in Kentuckiana history.
1 a.m. The huge flakes of white snow blanket Louisville. No letting up in sight. Motorists get the bad news.
We have to go 64 west. You can't get up the ramp here.
And Greg Thompson from Jeffersonville is here to rescue his 17-year-old daughter stranded on I-65.
Now that you're here to rescue your daughter, you can't get back to Indiana.
That's right, so somebody's got to rescue me and my daughter.
Well, when you're lucky enough to have a garage, you kind of pull out with, I guess, wishful thinking, but it's not long before you realize you're not going very far. So there we sit, about 30 yards from the front door of my apartment. Now, the only thing we could do is get a ride from fellow photographer Todd Newman, who has a four-wheel drive vehicle. And once we hit the road, we realized we're about the only vehicle on the road.
There's about 1 foot of snow on the bridge. It hasn't been plowed. Most of the roads have not been plowed. I can attest to that. I was stuck and got picked up.
People stranded everywhere we've driven. There's a woman here trying to make a phone call just to get home. Her car is already stuck. What are you doing out in this?
Stranded, trying to get to work. Me and my brothers are trying to make it to Montfort.
Have you ever seen it like this before?
No, I haven't. Not in my 30 years of living here in Louisville.
Oh, it's bad out here. The roads are impassable. The side roads, you cannot go down and everything. And everybody's stuck. Police vehicles getting stuck, so is civilian vehicles.
But we do need to update you on the airport. Apparently, it is closed for the time being.
As you take a look at some of the snow plows out on the runways now, they're working to clear the runways, but...
All flights in and out have been canceled until 2:45.
And what about after that?
Depends on the snow. If it lets up and we can clear off the runways, maybe the 2:45 will get out.
As you see, it's a red-letter day here. Canceled, canceled, canceled. Biggest problem on the main radials. You go down Market, you come in Main, you go out Liberty. The main problem are the people walking in the street.
Jeff Lifson on Broadway at about 7 o'clock in the morning. Broadway, which used to be a street, now more like a sidewalk. Because the sidewalks aren't cleared at all, because they have no way of walking any place but on the street, you see folks up in front of us trying to get to work, just like we're trying to get to work this morning.
You can see folks walking in the middle of the road. That's how a lot of folks down here are getting around this morning, just walking to wherever they have to go. And we found several people traveling several blocks.
Tell them people at home that you need to stay off the road. We cannot get these emergency vehicles on to the patients that we need to.
Probably the best vantage point to see the extent of the storm was from Sky 11. I mean, every day Terry and I would go up and it was like flying over Siberia. It was incredible to see so many roadways of such a large metropolitan area completely shut down, entire areas of the city that were just not moving, no people, no cars, no nothing.
Once I went up in Sky 11, and we started flying over the interstates and everything, and you just saw all the semis backed up and all these people just virtually stranded, you really appreciated, I guess, the wrath of Mother Nature and certainly her strong power in that storm. Again, the big problem is on I-65 northbound, starting at the Preston Street Highway exit. Virtually a standstill with traffic, a lot of people just standing beside their cars, probably wondering what on earth they're going to do next.
There are a few people still brave enough to try and get out here and try and move around a little bit, but it's a winter wonderland out here, and the wonder is that any of these trucks even got this far. But they're not going any further. They're not going to make it to downtown Louisville today, and there's no telling when we'll get all this cleaned up. It's just going to be hours and hours and hours. It's ugly.
By late afternoon, the sunlight sprayed over the dark clouds, adding a celestial punctuation to the power of nature. On the ground below, man and machinery were frozen in place by the whims of winter weather. Pick an interstate, 64, 65, 71, and this was a microcosm. The big wheels powerless, the trucks they carry askew on the roads. And when one truck turns sideways, it blocks the road stretching for miles. No way to turn, no way to go. Power lines were down in snowbound neighborhoods all over Kentuckiana, and some broken lines were more spectacular than others. For instance, this one, found by our reporter in the air, Rajchel.
Right, we've been talking about these down power lines and telling people how dangerous they are.
Let's take a look now at a graphic we have for you. LG&E is reporting 20,000 homes without power at this hour, and we suspect that the situation as it affects power to homes may get worse before it gets better.
We're in Jeffersonville right now, Gene. In fact, we're right off of 62. We had outages in Louisville, the same over on the other side of the river.
Makes you think about
Dan Penner of Seneca Gardens walked through his house in the dark all day. His one refuge, a battery-powered radio.
Up next, meteorologist Ken Schultz with the color radar forecast.
Tonight, he's hoping he'll have lights. Penner spent the day reading the newspaper by window light. At the same time, the temperature inside dropped.
But once you're inside for a while, you can feel that it gets a little nippy out, you know.
How much, temperature-wise, do you think it has dropped in your house since the heat went off?
Probably over 20 degrees. So it doesn't sound that bad, but I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, so they're starting to feel a little bit.
This is what took his power away. Power lines sliced and dropped to the ground, not by the snow, but by trees. Ice-covered branches are snapping everywhere.
Being without power can be a scary experience on a night like tonight.
It's a cold night without power. If you don't have electricity, this is where you could spend the night.
Straight back, straight back.
The Red Cross is rolling in goods to make Male High School feel a bit more like home instead of a shelter. The Breck family lost power earlier today and huddled under blankets until this shelter opened.
I thought, I just can't believe it's happening to us, because the kids had just started outdoors. And I thought, they got to hurry up and get back in so they don't get cold.
The effort to stay warm in this very cold weather is producing a dangerous byproduct.
We received a call on a building fire at 12:52. We had units on the scene in 3 minutes, and they reported a working fire in the Hill Street Christian Church, heavy fire conditions on the interior.
We are right now above a working apartment fire in the west end of town. We're told at 35th and Ali, just west of the Shawnee Expressway. You can see the flames coming out. It looks like a 2-story building from up here.
Look at this video. You will see the flames breaking out, and you will see a firefighter up on a roof having a tough time fighting the fire on the second floor of 1386 6th Street. Now, we should mention that there are some residents that were in the building, some that weren't.
Crackling flames, the spray of fire hoses, the thick, charred smell filling the air. The house is aloft. The wind, 6 lives saved.
The building just lost due to the rescue and the time it took to do that. So, there ain't nothing we can do now just put it out. That's what I was just telling you. I mean, it's vented all the way through there.
Everybody's out, that's the main thing.
Everybody's out thanks to a neighbor, a hero.
Mr. Rajchel next door was over here before the fire trucks got here trying to help pull some people out of the house. There are several elderly people that live there.
He jumped out of bed. In seconds, he was across the street, and he was pulling people out, yelling for help. It looked like they were getting them out safely. It didn't look, the people that had been brought out looked like they were fine.
Now the attention turns, making sure the firemen are fine.
How you feel? Fine. Two Salisbury guys going in, feed them line, make sure they're okay. Any fire is hard to fight, and when you have conditions like this, it's just extremely difficult.
You got a ladder coming over this way?
You can't hardly pull your lines, you can't walk. Everything freezes. It's unbearable. You need to rehab about every 20 minutes. But with the condition of this fire, there's a lot of guys that wasn't able to rehab. We just kept fighting.
Fighting to get the flames out, fighting to stay a step ahead of the cold, knowing their fight saved 6 lives.
It didn't surprise me, it just impressed me. Each time we would go to a live report and someone would say, this person helped me push my car, or this person shoveled my sidewalk for me, it would touch me that the number of people who would just generously give their time to help other folks in a crisis like that.
I think they really showed that sort of humanity and camaraderie and cohesion that so often people show in emergencies.
What I saw all through the whole incident was people helping people, whether it was pushing the car or shoveling out an area to save a little girl's life to get her off to an organ transplant that she needed.
If you have a four-wheel drive and you live anywhere near the area of Pleasureville, Kentucky, there's a woman there named Mona Bush. She needs kidney dialysis by noon, needs to get to kidney dialysis by noon. Of course, it's very crucial to her life.
We called the Four-Wheel Drive Club out, which is an organization of guys and gals that have four-wheel drives to be able to back up our emergency vehicles. Those people are in place.
One group, dubbed the 4x4 Club, has literally been the difference between life and death for some people. Donna Lazy has one volunteer story.
You lose a chain, you're stuck.
Mike Cravens can't get stuck. He's the one who's gotten people unstuck from the roadways, from their heatless homes.
Oftentimes, heroes emerge from crisis conditions, and more than 200 heroes showed up at the Southeast Christian Church today.
I was just ecstatic when we got the call, and then I said, how are we going to get there?
Today is the day Michelle Schmidt's family has waited for. For 2 years, they've looked for a liver transplant for Michelle, and today, the donor has been found. What do you think about all these people coming out to help out?
I can't believe it, and I just say thank you from the bottom of my heart. That doesn't seem to be enough, but I just want everybody to know how much we appreciate it.
It's 16 inches of snow that stands between little Michelle and the donor's liver in Omaha. The community is taking care of the snow.
I called the radio station and asked them why the helicopter couldn't land back here. And they said it would have to be plowed, and I said that would be no problem. I could get a whole street load of people to come and help plow.
There's about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever. And the next thing you know, everybody started coming from everywhere.
The snow kicks up under the prop wash as SkyCare lands in the man-made landing pad. And the moment they've all waited for.
Perfect strangers that you're never going to see again. Just come out to help somebody they've never even laid eyes on before. It really makes you feel good.
A community of heroes, a community of good Samaritans, and a community that refused to let 16 inches of snow keep a little girl from getting a transplant she desperately needs.
Well, I guess setting 2 records in 1 week. First, the biggest snowfall, 15.9 inches officially, and then our coldest temperature a few days later, 22 below zero. Incredible.
Started out with freezing rain and sleet, and then we got 16 inches of snow on top of that. Once that all took place, we had extremely cold temperatures come down. And again, another record, the coldest temperature to ever take place in Louisville, 22 degrees below zero. So any ice underneath that snow is going to be there for a while.